Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking time out to attend today's webinar on sustainability, certification, and climate change in today's world. My name is Nirmala Thomas, and I'm the Director Market Development at FI India. The webinar today will be approximately of 1 hour in duration. Before we begin with this session, just allow me a few seconds to introduce Canadian Wood to you. Canadian Wood, also known as FI India, is the crown agency of the Government of British Columbia in Canada. We are a non-profit organization with a mandate to educate and promote use of BC forest products in the offshore markets of India. British Columbia is recognized as a global leader in sustainable forest management. Most of you must be knowing and aware of Canadian Wood has been actively promoting wood as a sustainable raw material in various applications in India through its 5 legally sourced species, namely spruce pine fir, what we call as SPF, western hemlock, Douglas fir, yellow cedar, and western red cedar. Today's webinar is primarily because it is critically important that the international community meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals of building a sustainable global economy. This will help reduce the greenhouse gas emissions causing climate change and also meet the demands of the Glasgow COP26 conference, which was held in November 2021. Certain key decisions and action were taken to achieve the climate change goals. Sustainable development and climate action are linked. Both are vital to be present for the present generation as well as the future of humanity. With this, I would like to introduce the first speaker for today, Ms. Nadira Hamid, CEO, IndoCanadian Business Chamber. Just a short, brief introduction of her. She's a very charismatic lady who has for the last 10 years steered ICBC as a voice of change in the India-Canada economic relationship after taking over as the Chief Executive Officer in 2011. She has contributed significantly to the building of the India-Canada Trade and Investment Economic Partnership between Indian and Canadian businesses. Nadira has also been the recipient of an award by Air Canada in recognition of ICBC's support and valuable contribution to the promotion of the brand throughout India. I would now like to invite Ms. Nadira Hamid, CEO ICBC, to give the welcome address. Over to you, Nadira.
Thank you, Nirmala. It's always very encouraging to hear an introduction because it just, it helps grow your self-esteem. So thank you for that, Nirmala. Good afternoon, everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to this webinar on sustainable forestry, certifications, and climate change. The Indo-Canadian Business Chamber is the only such chamber based in India which is dedicated to promoting and strengthening economic relationships between India and Canada. Our headquarters are in Delhi, and we have regional offices in Bangalore, in Ahmedabad, in Calcutta, and in Mumbai. Our membership spans both India and Canada, and it consists of not only the SMEs, the startups, but also big organizations. We are very privileged to have Canadian Wood as part of our membership, and we are very happy to encourage their initiatives and what they're doing today, especially in this world where climate change and associated problems are such a huge challenge. We at the Chamber have endeavored to advocate sustainability and conscientiousness for social and environmental factors for a better tomorrow. As concerns about climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution have become widespread, the world has shifted to embrace sustainable practices and policies. One such aspect is to tackle climate change by using wood to achieve sustainability in designing and building structures that use less energy, water, and materials, and to minimize impacts on human health and the environment. Which is why we're very happy to be partnering with Canadian Wood for this very important and informative session. Canadian Wood, formerly known as FII, as Nirmala said, is a crown agency of the Government of British Columbia and is known world over, it's in British Columbia, Canada, which is known world over for its versatile lumber from certified forests and is acknowledged as a leader in sustainable forest management. Over the years, Canadian Wood has successfully collaborated with many manufacturers, architects, contractors, and developers on product trials and demo projects. One such collaboration is with MAC Projects at Hyderabad. Work is now in progress on the first villa with Canadian wood. This state-of-the-art villa being made with wood is a unique part of this housing project and is expected to usher in the trend of many more such wooden villas being demanded by prospective customers who are already evincing huge interest in this activity on site. Apart from technical and material assistance, hand-holding and on-site supervision is also being provided by Canadian Wood to ensure a well-finished and durable villa. I would like to wish Pranesh Chhibber, Mr. Arun Kumar Bansal, Peter Bradfield, and the entire team of Canadian Wood a very successful session. With this, I hand it over to Nirmala Thomas, Director, India Market Development at Canadian Wood, for her remarks. Over to you, Nirmala.
Thank you, Nadira. I would now like to introduce Pranesh Chhibber. The first presenter for today's webinar is Mr. Pranesh Chhibber, Country Director, FII, also known as Canadian Wood. Pranish, as most of the people know who are present here today, is a veteran with over 20 years of engagement in the woodworking industry with a career span of almost 40 years. Pranish has held senior assignments in multinational companies and has been associated with Canadian Wood for the last 7 years. Today, he will be sharing his thoughts and best practices of British Columbia, Canada, with Canada as a world leader in sustainable forest management. I would now like to invite Mr. Pranesh Chhibber to present on sustainability, certifications, and climate change. Over to you, Pranish.
Many thanks, Nirmala. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the webinar. Give me a second just to load my presentation. All right. So to fully comprehend the pressing need to restore our planet's ecosystem, I begin by quoting Wendell Berry, the celebrated novelist, poet, and environmentalist. He said, "The earth is what we all have in common." The very thought of us all inhabiting the same planet and our collective responsibility in safeguarding its ecosystem speaks volumes about the urgency to protect the environment and our planet Earth. The forests are one of the key areas of focus when it comes to restoration of Earth's ecosystem. Needless to mention that forests impact climate change, and looking after them helps mitigate natural calamities. I now draw your attention to the recently concluded 26th UN Climate Change Conference, where India made a net zero commitment by 2070, while participating nations reinforced and elevated the world's commitment to a 1.5-degree target. I also take this opportunity to highlight that Canada's forest sector has long been committed to climate action. It is one of the few who supported the Kyoto Protocol in the late 1990s and was among the first to announce an action plan to help meet Canada's commitment under the Paris Agreement, enabling it to play a leading role in helping advance climate action and commitment to securing a net zero carbon economy by 2050. These developments demand greater cooperation and commitment from the industry to work alongside the governments towards a cleaner and greater world. We hope the COP26 declaration will support the expansion of forest certification to promote sustainably managed forests and encourage responsible consumption worldwide. Contrary to popular belief, harvesting forest is essential to keep forests healthy. Not only old trees in aging forests are less efficient in sucking in carbon and releasing oxygen, but decaying forests release their stored carbon slowly in the atmosphere or rapidly through wildfire. Thus, reforestation and sustainable forestry ensures that carbon cycle continues through healthy forests that store carbon. Let us now look at the scenario in India. India's forests are protected, and rightly so. This is helping it to grow its forest cover as part of its commitment towards mitigation of global warming. India ranks third among the top 10 countries that have gained in forest areas in the last decade, as per FAO, and increased it to 24.56%, that is around 807,000 square kilometers in 2019. Having said that, India is the second most populous nation in the world with a fast-growing economy that makes huge demands on its resources, thus making it a fiber-deficient nation and dependent on imported wood to meet its needs. Needless to mention that to meet its commitment of net zero by 2070, India will do well to ensure that the wood imported is certified and from sustainably managed forests. Critics often point out the carbon footprint created by processing and shipping of wood around the world. However, we all know that the carbon stays locked in the harvested trees and that in actuality, far more CO2 is taken out of atmosphere compared to the carbon footprint created, as is evident from the chart on the screen. Forests help curb climate change and global warming by absorbing nearly a quarter of carbon emissions. They reduce the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere and in turn decrease the impact of climate change. Keeping forests healthy is a critical part of removing harmful emissions and cooling our planet. Similarly, building with wood and use of wood products over carbon-intensive materials and maximizing their reuse and recycling is a smart climate solution. I pause here to play a video on forestry in Canada and will commence with my presentation after the same.
There are few places on Earth that can match the diversity and richness of Canada's forests. Forests are an important part of Canada's natural ecosystem and central to its economy, making up just under half of its landscape with 8 major forest regions and a vast diversity of wood species. From planting a seedling to manufacturing lumber, the forest sector in British Columbia and Canada is an interconnected industry of forest management and wood processing. This includes planting, tree harvesting with modern, high-tech machinery, and sophisticated wood product manufacturing. The entire cycle is planned around responsible resource management. In British Columbia, forestry and wood product manufacturing are a fabric of our culture, our communities, and our people. Our forests provide a sustainable supply of wood for lumber and mass timber products, while protecting our environmental and social values of wildlife, water, community, economic interests, and First Nations peoples. British Columbia is a global leader in sustainable forest management. Forestry practices in British Columbia ensure that environmental, social, and economic needs are met for current and future generations. This matters to our customers and sets us apart from other supply regions globally. Wood products from British Columbia come from legal, sustainably managed forests. By law, less than 1% of the forests are harvested annually, with 3 trees planted for every single tree harvested. This commitment to forest regeneration results in 200 million new seedlings planted every year, ensuring replenished forests for the future. Canadian wood suppliers provide certified products under the Forest Stewardship Council, FSC, and the Program for the Endorsement of Forest Certification, PEFC. These strict international certification standards add additional assurance of the global protection of forest resources and make Canada a reliable and sustainable provider of wood products. State-of-the-art technology and machinery, incorporated in our forestry practices and through our highly productive, efficient sawmills, support the production of Canada's quality lumber. After harvesting, logs are transported to sawmills for manufacturing. At the sawmill, the logs are cut to target lengths and loaded into a debarking machine to remove the bark. Next, logs are processed through primary breakdown equipment like head rigs and chip-in saws and are turned into lumber. The lumber is then sawed to specific widths and trimmed to specific lengths as it passes through secondary equipment like edgers and trimmers. A scanner will show if the lumber requires any further trimming. Next, the lumber is sorted by thickness, width, length, and sometimes by grade attribute. It is stacked, which may include stacking on sticks for kiln drying. When the lumber is dry, it is ready for final processing. Some lumber goes through a planer mill to be made smooth. Whether planed or rough, the lumber is then graded and trimmed. It is sorted by size and by grade, then finally packaged for shipment. This results in the most efficient yield of the best quality lumber. Once the lumber is packaged and prepared for shipment, it is loaded onto a network of trucks and rail cars for delivery to shipping ports for distribution around the world. Independent studies confirm that the CO2 stored in wood products far outweighs any extra CO2 generated by the efficient manufacturing and shipping of Canadian lumber around the world. Lumber produced from British Columbia and Canada is durable, strong, and versatile. Superior working properties offer design flexibility and durability. Canadian lumber products can be bent, shaped, or assembled as required, making it ideal for countless indoor, outdoor, and structural applications such as windows, doors, gazebos, and furniture like tables and chairs. Canadian wood species are also easy to face laminate, edge glue and/or finger joint, and standard sizes and grades ensure that the same high-quality product reaches the client each time. Canadian wood products bring warmth and natural beauty to an interior and exterior application or furniture product. It can be sanded to create a smooth surface, has a superior coating adherence, and can easily take any stain or finish. Across Canada and North America, wood products are influencing design and construction, not only for interior and exterior applications, but also the construction of buildings. Mass timber products are changing the way buildings are constructed, allowing for immense spans and taller buildings made of wood. Canadian wood products are being used in a wide range of buildings and products, showcasing the versatility, strength, and durability of lumber from Canadian forests. That is why using Canadian wood is a natural choice.
Welcome back. I'll now continue with the second half of the presentation, talking about forestry in Canada. Canada is home to 9% of the world's forests and boasts 36% of the world's independent, third-party, audited, and certified forests, making it a global leader in forest certification and a respected source for ethical and sustainable forest products. This positions Canada as a long-term sustainable source of certified wood to fiber-deficient nations such as India and help advance the world's collective fight against climate change. British Columbia is North America's largest producer of softwood lumber and Canada's second largest producer of pulp and paper products after Quebec. Alongside traditional goods like cabinets, furniture, and prefabricated building elements, BC's value-added manufacturers make a variety of mass timber and next-generation lumber products. In addition to the wood products, BC is also home to leading architects, engineers, and consultants who support and drive the innovative use of wood in buildings and infrastructure. As a result, their services too are in demand worldwide. Just 23% of BC forests are available for harvesting, of which only 0.2% is allowed to be harvested annually. BC's approach to sustainable forestry focuses on forests forever. It has the 14th largest forest area when compared to country jurisdictions around the world, and is a global leader in its own right in third-party certified sustainably managed forests, ranking third after Canada as a whole and Russia. Through stringent regulations, continuous reforestation, and science-based practices, its forest industry works hard to ensure that its forests flourish and remain healthy forever. BC's diverse forests are reforested promptly using a mixture of planted native tree species in combination with natural regeneration, and are managed for the flora and fauna indigenous to the region to protect province's vital ecosystem and biodiversity. This approach has garnered international recognition for British Columbia as a global leader in sustainable forest management. While expanding wood use, British Columbia presents opportunities to collaborate with governments and industry to develop a global showcase on innovative use of wood that can help reach climate mitigation goals around the world. Further, through the Clean BC initiative, the British Columbian government is working to reduce the climate impacts of provinces' built environment and establish objectives for future building performance. Wood, being a natural building material, reduces carbon footprint of the built environment as compared to concrete and other materials. Here is a snapshot of the Sustainable Forest Management Certification in Canada. In 2002, the Forest Products Association of Canada, FPAC, became the only national forest trade association in the world to require members to certify their operations to any of the three major credible standards used in Canada. That is, Canadian Standards Association, CSA, the Forest Stewardship Council, FSC, and the Sustainable Forestry Initiative, SFI. Since its emergence in 1990s, forest management certification has been adopted quickly across Canada. And now more than 75% of the country's managed forest land is certified. As of the end of 2020, Canada had 164 million hectares of independently certified forest land. This represents 36% of all certified forests worldwide, the largest area of third-party certified forest in any country. This, coupled with strong forest management and governance, supports Canada's reputation as a source of legally and sustainably produced forest products. Here's a snapshot of the Canada and forest certification. A world leader by a huge margin, Canada's certified forests cover an area of the size of Germany, Spain, and Sweden put together. You will also notice in the chart on the screen that its province of British Columbia by itself comes at number 3, much higher than all other nations in the world except Canada as a whole and Russia. Talking about sustainability, BC has roughly the same amount of forested area as it did before the European settlement. Thus, abundance of wood is available for exports for a long, long time to come. Canadian wood promotes 5 distinct species in India from the certified and sustainably managed forests in British Columbia, Canada. Each known for their unique properties. These are easy to work with and very versatile. SPF, where it is stress rated and highly in demand for building with wood across geographies. Western hemlock, on the other hand, is widely preferred for furniture and other interior applications. Douglas fir is used both in reman and structural applications, whereas yellow cedar and red cedar are both naturally resistant to termites and decay withstand natural elements very well. Hence, are much in demand for the outdoor applications. Canada exports only lumber. All species already named come in lumber form, which is sawn timber, and is duly graded, consistently sized, and seasoned, thus completely removing the headache of sorting the wood on arrival at a manufacturer's yard. This lumber is from mature trees, often as old as 200 plus years, and are thus highly stable, which is appreciated by the wood industry. That brings me to the end of the presentation. I thank you for your attention. Should you have any queries or questions, please feel free to bring it up during the Q&A session, and we'll do our best to answer the same. Thank you very much once again. Over to you, Nadira.
Thank you, Pranish. The second presenter for today's webinar is Mr. Arun Kumar Bansal, Chairperson, Promotion, Communication and Advocacy, NCCF, the national governing body of PEFC Forest Certification in India. And he's also the former additional DG Forest India. Mr. Arun Kumar Bansal has over 45 years of experience in all aspects of conservation of forests, including evolution of forest policy, legal framework, and has been directly involved in the evolution and implementation of the policy relating to forest conservation and management in India. And with now, I would like to invite Mr. Arun Kumar Bansal. Mr. Bansal, over to you, please.
Thank you, Nirmala ji, for the nice introduction. And good afternoon, friends. Allow me to share my screen. Is my screen visible? I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. It is a matter of honor for me to share my thoughts in this webinar on the role of forest and certification in combating the effects of climate change. As you know, world is facing a global climate crisis, which Pranish told in details. And the crisis is largely induced by our activity, that is the human activities. At the recent COP26, the parties to the COP26 agreed to work on to reduce the emissions so that the rise in average temperature is limited to 1.5 degrees, and also to reach a net zero carbon emission by 2050. Forest, as you know, forests have the force of stabilizing the climate. We all know that the ameliorating effects of the forest on climate, they are both sinks and sources of carbon. That means they absorb carbon as well as emit carbon in the form of deforestation. But they are net sinks of carbon, therefore, their role in climate change mitigation. Globally, the forests cover 1/3 of the total land area, and a large sizable population depends on the forest for their livelihood and in other form. However, roughly only half of the forests are worked under some sort of management plan. Rest of the forests are being managed without any approved management plan, which has got serious implications. Deforestation has serious implications for climate change. Although the rate of deforestation has gradually reducing, which was around in 1990s, it was around 16 million hectares per annum. It is now reduced to around 10 million hectares per annum, but is still very high. Another important aspect, which is equally important, but generally neglected, is the forest degradation, because we all go by the areas and the area of deforestation. But forest degradation is also equally important because it causes loss of biodiversity, soil erosion, and decline in biomass. In Indian conditions, degradation is more relevant because a high proportion of people living in and around forest depend on forest for their livelihood. In addition to the carbon sink and storage function of forest, the forest also reduce the vulnerabilities of the people living in and around forest, and also enhance their adaptation capabilities to the climate change impact. The three main contributions of forest, which is important for the mitigating the climate change, relate to reducing deforestation. Of course, it is not relevant very much to India, but it is important globally. Sustainable forest management and low impact logging, which enhance and maintain the carbon storage potential of the forest, and afforestation and agroforestry, which tends to increase the carbon storage in the forest and tree cover. Sustainable forest management and afforestation activities are recognized as cost-effective options to mitigate impacts of climate change, in addition to compared to the other initiatives to combat the climate change. And in fact, sustainable forest management is important not only to mitigate climate change, but also contributes to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. SFM, Sustainable Forest Management, is a central concept of Goal 15, that is life on land. And there is an indicator devoted to progress towards sustainable forest management, that is indicator 15.2.1. However, all forestry activities, unless they are done carefully, may also create some obstacle in meeting other sustainable development goals. Some of them relate to the afforestation or reforestation, if not done properly, may remove valuable agricultural land and therefore may impact food production. Monoculture plantations can negatively impact biodiversity along with its concomitant effect on the climate change. Several forestry projects may have top-down approach, and therefore they may erode the local decision-making structures which are important. Therefore, there is a pressing need to promote the situations or the policy in which the dual aims of the climate change mitigation and broader human development can be met simultaneously. In this context, the voluntary forest certification schemes provide a very potential solution because they look into not only the economic values of the forest, but also environmental, social, and cultural values. In fact, proportion of forest area certified under any voluntary certification scheme is an important indicator under SDG 15.2. In India, the National Working Plan Code, we are managing our forest for more than a century now, based upon the concept of sustainability. The new National Working Plan Code says that the management planning must provide for sustainable management of forest and its biodiversity, which includes ecological, economic, and socio-cultural dimensions. And the management objectives must include reducing forest degradation, which is important in Indian context, as I told earlier. And we should progressively increase the growing stock and carbon sequestration potential of the forest. That means the forest must be maintained in a very healthy and growing condition. And of course, the people involvement must be there, not only in planning the forestry management activities, but also in the management of forest. The new working plan code focuses also on the non-wood forest products and ecosystem services, but wood continues to be a major product from forest. And as has been told earlier also, that wood is a carbon negative multi-purpose material, and its production system is very cost effective because all its competitive materials have got very high embedded energy and they have got very serious environmental impacts. Wood is a greener material compared to its alternates, that is whether it is metals or plastics or whatever. The life cycle studies of wood products and other alternatives, there have been a large number of studies which show that wood and wood products have very low emission levels compared to the alternates. In recent years, a term which is gaining importance is the environmental product declaration based upon ISO 1425, which describes the environmental impacts associated with a product. And therefore, gradually, there is an increasing recognition of benefits of wood products sourced from sustainably managed forests in tandem with other climate change mitigation initiatives. Recently, in India also, the embargo which was put on use of wood almost about 30 years ago has recently been lifted. And despite the global economic activity, however, the global consumption of wood, industrial wood, has not changed much. Practically, it is remaining static. And the same is the situation in India in terms of the industrial roundwood. However, the production from natural forests, as is shown in the graph, has considerably decreased. But the production from TOF area, that means the tree outside forest area, which includes agroforestry, has considerably increased. Virtually, bulk of the demand of wood is being met with from the TOF areas, and the gap is being met with by import of wood and wood products. The production pattern shows that India can do a lot by way of increasing its forest and tree cover and enhancing use of wood production system to mitigate the climate change impacts. Globally, there are two certification schemes which are voluntary and market-based mechanisms. One is the Forest Stewardship Council, FSC, and other one is the Program for Endorsement of Forest Certification. Between them, globally, around 525 million hectares, or roughly around 11% of the world's forests, are certified. But it may be heartening to note that these 11% of certified forest areas are meeting roughly 28% of the world's industrial wood requirement. That means the contribution of certified forest to meeting the wood demand is comparatively higher. The Forest Stewardship Council has one standard which is applicable to all countries. That means they have one international standard, whereas PEFC has a system where the national schemes developed by the nations themselves through a multi-stakeholder consultative process are recognized, are endorsed by the PEFC following a rigorous procedure. And as of now, there are 49 such PEFC endorsed national schemes. NCCF is a network of stakeholders, basically a network of stakeholders, which is a member of PEFC Alliance. It is also a member of IUCN and has got observer status with UNCCD as a civil society organization. It was established in the year 2015 as a non-profit organization. Core activities includes development of sustainability standard and several others, including the policy advocacy, capacity building, and multi-stakeholder engagement is one of our key initiatives. The NCCF is the PFC national government body India. That means we take care of all activities relating to PFC in India. It has developed the first Indian scheme for forest certification, forest management certification, which was endorsed by PFC in 2018. The NCCF has also developed a certification scheme for tree outside forest, which is under the process of endorsement by PFC, which is expected to be completed by May 2022. Another standard which is at pilot testing stage is the non-wood forest resources after wider public consultation. Other standards which are also under development are ecotourism, protected areas and wetlands, and also quality planting material. This is a scheme which gives that the PMFM certification standard is comprises of roughly 239 indicators, which are grouped into 59 criteria and 14 principles. The themes include the legality, forest management plans, forest management activities and their impacts, the social and community rights and relations, as well as ecological integrity and health of the forest. That means there is an elaborate system where the forest areas are audited against the indicators, against the principal criteria indicator, to ensure that they are sustainably managed, while the social and environmental aspects are also taken care of. In fact, the NCCFFM standard incorporates all aspects and components of working plan in its principles, criteria, indicators, but additionally, it also looks into the rights of the local communities, including workers and staff, as well as their welfare and health and safety measures, environmental safeguards, and the aspects related to mitigation of climate change, conservation of biodiversity and high congestion value forest. And it ensures active engagement of stakeholders, that means the people living in the vicinity of forest, in planning, implementation, as well as in monitoring and evaluation of the activities. The tree outside forest is important in Indian context, and NCCF is proud to have evolved the first ever tree outside forest certification standard, not only in India, but around the world. Because in TUF meets about 72% of our industrial wood requirement, and the certification scheme is much simpler compared to the forest management scheme, with lesser number of criteria indicators, because the production system is simple and the production activity is taken up by the large number of farmers in small areas. In fact, any standard setting, certification standard has got three specific aspects. One is the standard setting, another is the certification and accreditation of the certification bodies. The credibility of any system in the certification system is ensured that these three activities are taken care of by three independent organizations which are not related to each other. Standard setting is done by NCCF. The certification itself is done, the conformance assessment as per the standard is done by certification bodies which are independent of NCCF. And these certification bodies are assessed for their competence by national accreditation body in India, that is the National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies, ensuring the highest level of credibility of any certification system. And thus the certification system assures the sustainability right from source to the consumers through a third-party verification covering the entire supply chain, including the forest, the processing part, and the retail system. In India, as of now, around 4.5 lakh hectares of forests are certified under NCCF PFC forest management certification in Uttar Pradesh, and few other states the certification process is in the pipeline. Also, the TUF standard, the number of companies are showing interest in getting certification of the TUF wood resources from where they are sourcing the wood for the manufacturing process through the NCCF scheme. Under the FSC system, around 1 lakh hectares of farm forestry and agroforestry plantations are certified, in the country, but there are no forest areas certified under FSC as of now. Bulk of the wood imported into India is from the uncertified forest, except the timber imported from Canada, particularly British Columbia and some other countries, which is PEFC certified. Annually, it is estimated that around 45 million tons of COC equivalent is locked annually in the form of wood, which is used in different wood products. This is based upon that roughly about 70% of wood is converted into wood products with the average density of 0.7. However, the total carbon sequestered from atmosphere in the production of this wood, which is used in the form of wood products, is likely to be much more, because the total biomass is more, and there is lot of carbon is stored in organic form in the soil. A sizable proportion of wood in India is used in the form of composites in indoor environment, and these composite boards are manufactured through a manufacturing process which uses adhesives, which are part of which is urea based, and these adhesives have the tendency to emit harmful formaldehyde emissions, or formaldehyde, which has got serious health issues on environment and human health, particularly in the indoor air quality. Therefore, considering the need, NCCF has developed a safe board standard to facilitate the industry to improve the quality of composites, particularly the ones related to emission of formaldehyde, at par with international standard, and this will result in enhanced acceptability of Indian composite wood products, not only in India but also abroad. Lastly, NCCF has also developed a carbon registry, India CRI, which is a platform for listing and trading of verified carbon credits in the form of plantations and other tree cultivation projects. This will facilitate additional incentives to the farmers and tree growers and other forestry projects in the form of additional money for the carbon sequestered in the trees, because the verified carbon credits can be purchased by the industry to offset their GHG emissions and thereby help the country in mitigating the climate change effect and also achieving the NDC targets. Thank you very much. Before I hand over the proceeding back to Nirmala ji, I'll request the organizers to play the video, which is a campaign launched by PFC titled Forests Are Home.
Thank you, Bansal ji. Just one second.
forests in one way or the other, and we all wish to be involved with them and feel ownership of them, even if we don't legally own them. There is a kind of moral ownership of forests by everyone in society. That is why it's so important to get everyone involved in a multi-stakeholder process in determining how a forest is managed. One of the many products that comes from our forests is furniture. It's an industry that has grown in value by 65% in the last decade, making furniture the third biggest user of forest wood. That's why PFC is launching this campaign to spread awareness about sustainably sourced wood furniture. Join our campaign today, have your sustainable products feature, and sign up for our furniture newsletter.
Thank you. Now I hand over the proceeding back to Nirmala ji And if you have any questions on the presentations, we will like to answer them. We'll try to help you get the answers either today, or if not possible today because of positive time, we'll be able to answer them separately as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Arunji. That was a very informative presentation. I think with this, we end the presentation round and we will be moving to the Q&A question and answer session round, for which I would like to invite Peter Bradfield, Technical Advisor, Canadian Wood, to moderate the event. Dear attendees, if you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A panel, because the team and the panel members present here are all there to answer your questions. Request the speaker and presenters to switch on their videos so as to be able to answer the questions. Yeah, over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Nirmala. Yeah, that truly was a smorgasbord of information. Congratulations to Pranish and Arun for amazing presentations. Very enjoyable, very informative, wonderful videos. There's a lot of information there. And it's just great to see, yes, forests are under pressure, but forests can bounce back, and forests are so important to our livelihood and people's livelihood, and there's such a huge resource for products, including furniture, and obviously playing a huge role in absorbing carbon dioxide and improving our climate. Pranesh talked about so many things: climate change, sustainable forestry, India's specifics in terms of forest cover and demand. He touched on carbon emissions and building with wood, and presented that wonderful video on BC's leadership role in the forest products sector. While Arun explained the importance of certified lumber, he reiterated the relationship between climate change and sustainable forestry worldwide. Certification, whether it be PEFC or FSC, is your guarantee of sustainable, responsible, legal logging, and provides the consumer with the customer with chain of custody. Arun also touched on India's progress on certification and forest degradation, and India's certification credentials. He talked about wood being greener than alternative products, a very important point. So much information, and I could go on, but I think I'll turn to some questions that showed up during the presentation. The first one I think I can direct at Pranish, and that question was, how do we help Indian manufacturers obtain certified wood?
Yeah, thank you, Peter. If I understood the question correctly, they want to know how they can find the certified wood in India. Is that the question?
I think it's more, it's how we can help, I guess, Canadian Wood or Arun's organisation, how we can help furniture manufacturers, for instance, move away from mango wood and fruit trees and obtain certified wood, because I think it's there's a huge market there, a huge interest there that people don't necessarily how to go about it. I think obviously they can contact Canadian Wood as a result of this presentation. That's a good start.
Yeah, so let me share some very interesting news with our viewers here. We all know that India's major hubs for export of furniture is located in Rajasthan, the two cities of Jodhpur and Jaipur primarily, and to some extent even Western UP, Hapur and Moradabad areas. It's been about a couple of years, slightly more than a couple of years, that we started engaging with these people and trying to understand as to what makes it tick, what they're using currently, why they're using it, how good it is for the environment, are they facing any challenges, etc. And we realized that they were already facing a challenge, rather they were facing two challenges. One, that their global customers had started asking for furniture made with certified wood. So you referred in the passing to the local species like mango or acacia. Well, they were certainly not certified, and then certainly the manufacturers were looking for certified wood at that point in time. Also, they were finding it very difficult, increasingly rather difficult to source wood. It was not as easy and readily available as it used to be, and certainly not at the cost it used to be available earlier. So that kind of fitted in with our approach to the industry of making available certified wood legally sourced from sustainably managed forests. And we did some trials with them, which they found very, very successful and happy to work with it. And they were kind of, it was kind of a very big relief to them when they realized that not only the Canadian wood was certified, but it also came as lumber, which was duly graded, consistently sized and seasoned. So they didn't have to actually resort to sorting of the wood once it was received in their yard. So this is some of the ways that we could help the furniture manufacturing industry, especially the export furniture manufacturing industry in India, other than the others, that we help them move from working with uncertified wood to certified wood. We also help them move from working only with tropical hardwoods to using conifers, which they had never done in the past. This was achieved by hand-holding and providing technical assistance to them where required.
And I think it was also driven by their customers, their overseas customers, wasn't it? That those overseas customers, and in turn, their customers were demanding certified wood. So
yes, so that I covered that the buying houses, obviously the buying houses will ask for certified furniture made with certified wood only if their customers have started asking for it. And you are absolutely right, Peter, because unless their customers ask for it, they wouldn't bother about asking from their manufacturers.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Pranish. I'll have a couple more questions.
Sorry to interrupt, Peter. Mr. Bansal has raised his hand. Mr. Bansal, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to add to what Pranish has told. In fact, NCCF is having interactions with the furniture companies through the FICCI. We had a recent interaction with the FICCI Committee on Furniture as to how they can get the benefit of getting their source timber certified under NCCF TUF scheme, as well as we are in working in collaboration with the rubber board, because the large quantity of rubber wood is being used, preservative treated rubber wood is being used in furniture making. So we are working together with the rubber board as well as the FICCI to ensure that greater quantity of certified timber is available to the furniture manufacturers in India, not only for export, but also for meeting the domestic requirement and creating awareness among the consumers about the benefits of using certified wood as a move towards overall sustainability and achievement of sustainable development goals. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. That actually preempts several questions, Arun, along those lines about how we can help Indian manufacturers, whether they're using Canadian wood or local wood. And it also leads me into another question, an important question. We do hear, or we do feel that some furniture manufacturers tend to prefer or insist on FSC versus PEFC. And I guess the question is why. Do you have any insights into why that is? Why do some furniture manufacturers go for FSC rather than PEFC?
This is right in Mr. Bansal's yard. But before
Yes.
Mr. Bansal comes in, I would just make one small statement here, and I guess Mr. Bansal will agree to what I say. FSC certainly has the first mover advantage. it was here much before PEFC. It was set up much before PEFC. And also FSC has been very actively, creating awareness about certification much before PEFC came into existence. So I guess it has the first mover advantage, number one. Number two, it comes from a Scandinavian country, and the world's largest furniture retailer also comes from the same geography. So it's kind of
that's one of them. Yes.
Yes, it is certainly it helps. It certainly helps to have a customer which is also supporting FSC as against the PEFC. But having said that, before I just pass it on to Mr. Bansal, as far as Canada is concerned, we have far more number of forests certified as PEFC than FSC, and we attach a lot of credibility to it because the standards of PEFC were found to be more genuine by the Canadian wood industry, and they decided to prefer PEFC over FSC for those reasons. Over to you, Mr. Bansal.
Thank you, Pranish. I think FSC definitely have the advantage which you mentioned, that the first mover, and some of the big manufacturers are the founder members of FSC as well. But having said that, the ground reality is that internationally both PFC and FSC are equally acceptable as far as the sustainability criteria are concerned.
Yes.
And gradually things are moving more towards PFC because of the fact that PFC has a system where the national concern and the national context of certification are taken into consideration while developing the certification standards. Because the needs and aspirations of the people and the doability of the systems, it takes into consideration by the PFC system. But at the same time, it has got very rigorous system of endorsement through which the nationally developed standard are endorsed by PFC. So they are equally available, and gradually many countries are accepting PFC at par with FSC, if not more. And in some countries, actually, the public procurement policies are moving towards certification, both PFC and FSC, and some have preference for PFC. So things are gradually evolving. And I am sure in times to come, the more and more people will get to use certified timber, irrespective of whether it comes from a PSC or FSC. Both of them will have the same goals. We, of course, as a member of PFC Alliance, will definitely want people to prefer PFC certified timber, which is locally available and which takes care of the local and national concerns as well. Thank you.
Yes.
You're on the right track, Mr. Bansal. By your last video is certainly a right step in the right direction. It is helping create the awareness, which was very critically missing up till now about PFC in India. So the more the awareness is created, more acceptable it becomes.
Yeah.
Yes,
PFC, in
absolutely.
fact, now having 2-3 thematic task forces working on furniture and things like that. Rubber, there is a specific task force, global task force working on rubber and rubber wood, and a task force working on furniture evolving strategies to create more and more awareness about the certification system.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I am a member on both of these committees, so I have a little insight into what is happening in the PFC world globally. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's very, very encouraging to see that the program with the furniture manufacturers, absolutely. There are so many variations of this question. There are several other questions regarding, certified wood, FSC, PFC, but kind of generally, are we doing enough, or how do we reach out to the architects? And are we doing enough collectively, as whether it's Canadian Wood or as Mr. Bansal's organisation, in involving the Indian government, in promoting certified wood? That's an open question for both Pranesh and Arun. Yeah.
Pranish, you go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, in fact, we are working closely with the Ministry of Environment and Forest as well as the Ministry of Commerce in the direction to create more and more awareness about the certified timber. And what was the other part of the question? This is the working.
Architects.
Yeah. In fact, we are planning to have a webinar or a seminar, if it is possible, for the architects and engineers, because I am
Yes.
a firm believer that to the civil engineers as well as architects, wood as a material is taught not even 1 hour in the entire course of 2 or 4 years. The wood is talked about only 1 hour. So
I
they
couldn't
have
agree
very
more.
little
Yeah.
information about wood as a
Yeah.
structural material, wood, bamboo, and the like products. So we are trying to work out with the Terry University a specific course for the faculty of the architect engineering colleges as well as the architects and engineers. Hopefully in the first quarter of next year, we'll have a specific webinar for the to create sensitivity amongst the architects and builders about wood and wood products, particularly wood as a structural material, wood and bamboo composites, as well as wood as a environment-friendly material for indoor furnitures, outdoor uses, and things like that.
Wonderful.
So that is coming through.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to add to what Mr. Bansal has said, we do our part about creating awareness about certified wood from sustainable sources, their properties, what are the advantages the wood brings to the table for the architects and developers. And we find that most the biggest challenge is the lack of existing expertise of building with wood in India. So a lot of what we call knowledge sharing and hand holding, or rather, first of all, before hand holding, a lot of knowledge sharing and awareness has to be created within the architects, not only the architects community, but also with the what you call the hospitality sector and the developers. So we are doing our bit of organizing seminars and webinars from time to time, targeting these audience, educating them on the benefits and techniques of working with wood. Also assuring them about hand-holding and assistance, technical support, if they do take up a project with wood or build with wood. So I would say the whole industry of structural use of wood is still in its nascent stage in India. It will take a couple of years to start taking off, and it'll be some time before it actually really takes off well. But having said that, already we find a lot of keen interest in building with wood from high-end architects who are actually targeting HNIs with their projects of farmhouses and country homes, apart from, of course, resorts in the hills and the coastal areas. So this is, we have our seminars and webinars have been very well received to this extent. And we are happy actually educating, assisting, and knowledge sharing with this target audience. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think, I agree, Pranish. I think FAI Canadian Wood is, we've done a lot of work in hand-holding and interacting with architects in terms of building with wood, and but also in interior installations and exterior installations, that sort of thing. So it's work in progress, but we're very, I think we've been very successful over the years in reaching out to architects. Nirmala, I think we're getting a little bit over time. How many questions?
Yeah, you probably can take, Peter, one question more. I will give, because we started a bit late on the Q&A.
Well, to those people who've lodged questions, we have many questions, and obviously some of these are going to be unanswered. But let me just assure those people that those questions will be addressed via email promptly. At the conclusion of this webinar over the next few days. let me see if I can just find. Well, someone did point out that they were not able to, the video reception wasn't good. I think that's just unfortunately individual Wi-Fi bandwidth. My actual reception was really good with the videos. So for those who didn't get a clear vision for the videos, I think this webinar is going to be uploaded, Nirmala, so people will be able to source that. So that was certainly a question. Someone else asked about the harvesting cycles in British Columbia. We have 5 species, as Pranish mentioned, and we tend to not harvest any trees at least for 60 to 80 years. So it's a long cycle. In British Columbia, we take a very, very long view. So in the forestry sector, I think the experts, the foresters actually look out 250 years. It's hard to believe, but we plan that far ahead. And that's how British Columbia enjoys virtually 0% deforestation and sustainable forestry.
I think in British Columbia, nobody has seen the forest being harvested twice. No living person rather.
It does. We are harvesting twice. Yeah, we are. But you're right. It's rarely seen by the public, and we are into second growth, particularly in Douglas fir. We do. I think one thing you referred to was low impact logging, and British Columbia does promote low impact logging. We engage in something called variable retention logging, which is basically small clear cuts and sympathetic harvesting that's not so visible. But such a wonderful record that British Columbia has, that we do enjoy this virtually 0% deforestation over the last 30 years, and it's just a pity, unfortunately, that some of the tropical rainforest has been overlogged over the years. So I think we'll have to address the other questions, Nirmala, personally, and by email. So I'll hand it back to you.
Sure. Thank you, Peter, for an excellent moderation. I think the questions, there are many questions in the Q&A panel. Primarily, just wanted to take this opportunity to thank each panelist and speaker for attending the webinar today and having an engaging session with the audience on different topics related to sustainability, certification, climate change. There are some questions specifically aimed at for Mr. Bansal in terms of carbon credits, how they can buy, how they can, all these questions will be sent to you. I know the audience has many questions, but what we will try and do is we will try and address each of these questions by capturing them through email and answering back to you. So if you still like to know more on Canadian wood, please do not hesitate to reach out to us by visiting the Canadian Wood website or by contacting any of our business development managers who are responsible for North, South, and West. They'll be most happy to assist you. Just a short, quick note. After the webinar, you will receive a survey link from Canadian Wood sent directly to your registered email ID. Request you to kindly fill the feedback form and share back with us. We thank you for attending the webinar. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, speakers. It was wonderful having you. See you at our next webinar soon. Thank you. And with this, we end our webinar.
Thank you, Nirmala. Please share the questions so that we can respond.
Sure. We'll do that immediately. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining in.